In this slideshow, I'm just going to be talking a little bit about the history of editing and showing you a couple examples of the earliest films and what editing, or the lack of editing, I guess, looked like in those films. So, the very first film screening was in 1895, and this is one film that was seen then. I'm going to shut up and let you watch this. So as you can see, this is a very simple little film. It's called The Hoser Hosed for obvious reasons. And it's essentially a little joke, right? A one joke little film where there's a guy hosing the garden, and a rascally kid steps on the hose, and then he gets squirted in the face, and the guy chases him around, right? So this is what a lot of and the earliest films look like. They were one-shot movies. And in this case, it happens to be a little joke. Other ones were what are called actuality films, where they would just be things like people getting on a train, or walking out of a building, or a couple eating lunch. All these things were essentially just a single shot. All right, one-shot movies. And film in the late 1890s really developed in two different locations, in the United States and in France. In France, it was the Lumiere brothers. In the United States, it was Edison. The Lumiere brothers were the first ones to do public screenings where you watch films with other people together. Edison thought film would be this solitary thing where you stick your head in a box. If any of you have ever gone to Disney World or Disneyland, they have these similar machines where you stick your head in a box, and you see a little Mickey Mouse cartoon or something like that. That's how Edison thought film would be. So anyway, the first films were these one-shot movies. And then, quickly enough after that, what you would see were longer films with multiple shots, basically just placed in sequence. So you would just have one long shot and then maybe one medium shot spliced together at the end. And there weren't any really cutting back and forth, say, between a long shot and a medium shot and a close-up back to a medium shot or anything like that. It was just sequences. So this stuff, editing in these cases, is really being done what's called in camera. That means you don't have an editing machine or anything like that. It's just when you start and stop your actual shooting. Moving on, I'm going to talk now about the rise of what's known as continuity editing. So continuity editing is basically a system of editing, an approach to editing where the real goal is that you're really hoping people don't notice the editing, actually. You're trying to maintain that illusion that what we're seeing is taking place continuously. In other words, previously I talked about how the approach to editing means you're shooting wide shots, you're shooting medium shots, shooting close-ups, and then you're going back and you're putting all that stuff together. They're all occurring at different times, and in fact, in film, films are not shot in sequence. They're shot out of sequence. That is, you shoot maybe a scene that happens at the end of the film. You might shoot that very early in the course of production just because it's more cost effective. So continuity editing is all about making editing seem seamless, making these various different shots fit together in a way that isn't visually jarring for the viewer. Kind of like we talked about with the composition of individual shots. When it comes down to actually putting those shots together, it's even more important that we as viewers can follow along both with the action and where things are going. We know where we are and where people are headed, as well as time and the way that time is transpiring. So continuity editing and the rules that are associated with it allow doing various different things, various tools to help guide people's attention and ensure that people know what's going on, as well as not just being distracted. And the rules for continuity editing really develop over a number of years. And I'm going to show you now an early film that is an example of those films where you have a series of different shots put together. So two key people that are responsible for helping really complicate editing and make it more complex are Edwin Porter and D.W. Griffith. This is a film called The Life of American Firemen by Edwin Porter. And I'm going to let you watch some of it, and I'm going to talk a little bit too, because there's a famous scene in here. There's actually a couple of things that you're going to notice. It seems like weird things are happening. It's taking a long time for example, firemen to slide down fire poles. Or we even see the same action occurring twice in a row just from different perspectives. Well, for us, it's obvious that you wouldn't do things like that. Why would you show the same thing twice? In the early years of film, this is made in 1903, I think, people didn't know those rules. They knew that you could shoot things from different shots, and maybe audiences would want to see the same thing twice, right? So anyway, I'm going to let you watch a little bit of this, and I'll talk about it when appropriate. So here you can see this is the fireman, and he's thinking about his lovely wife and daughter who are at home. So this is some early special effects where they've double exposed this film. So they have these two different things going on here on screen. Now we can see that this is a little bit complicated, right? We're seeing a close-up on the machine that you call to get the firemen in case there's a fire alarm, as you can see. And now the firemen are going to jump to work. Now watch this. So they were just sliding down the pole. Oh, here they come finally. So the timing of that is maybe a little bit not what we expected. It doesn't seem continuous. It seems like they're sliding down maybe 6 or 7 stories, which isn't the case. So really what you see in this is a series of segments. The firemen getting up, the firemen leaving the station. Here they go again. Location shots. Here they are going down the street, headed off towards the fire. And we watched all of these different, wagons go by. I was going to call them fire engines, but that doesn't seem appropriate, does it? Since they're drawn by horses. Again, it's like a complete segment of just, that was them leaving the station, and here they are driving down. All of them driving down the road. And yeah, it gets maybe a little dull watching all of them. Cut to the next part of the story. Here we are, different location. Soon to arrive at the fire. Here we go, we're at the house. There are the firemen doing their work. So that's the exterior of the building, obviously, and now we're in the interior. So I realize this is kind of blurry, but in this scene, the room is filled with smoke, and a woman is walking around, being very distressed, falling on the bed, and the firemen crash through the door. Pull down the shades, smash out the window, I think. Yeah, here we go. The dang window out of there. Stick the woman over his shoulder and climb through the window. So we're seeing all this from inside, right? He just climbed through the window. Here come was somebody else. Hey, there's a baby in there. Don't forget that baby. Got the that's a little girl, not a baby. Got her. Put out that dang fire. All right. Now, actually, what we're going to see now, watch, is the exact same series of events, but from the exterior. So, there's the woman who is so distressed, and now this guy is, the fireman is running up the front, this other guy is putting up the ladder, so the guy inside is breaking through the door, right? We're seeing the exact same series of events repeated, just from different perspectives. So this is an early example of editing together different shots. It's not continuity to editing, however. If it was continuity editing, we wouldn't see the same thing twice, right? We would cut back and forth, maybe from the exterior to the interior. We would see him perhaps climb through the window from inside and then cut to an exterior shot at the same time of him climbing out the window. Now he's put her down, and now he's going to run up and get the little girl. She's saying, dude, go up there. My daughter's still there. And so he goes. Alright, so early cinema, a complex narrative compared to what had come before, but notable because it kind of shows us, well, this is a different way that films could work. Right? This isn't how we're used to see telling a story, but this is an experimental stage. And this is an example of early editing, Edwin Porter, for Biograph. The end.